Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can
Hi,
hear you.
nice to see you, Sydney, and it's nice to see you, Annie. So it's so
Yeah.
exciting that this is our first.
I'm still seeing it as upcoming. Can
Oh,
you share your screen again real quick?
yeah, let me do that. Um,
Okay. Yeah, it does say that it is live.
is there
All
a lag?
right. Maybe. Okay. Yeah, we're good. We're live.
We're good.
All right. You can stop
Yay!
sharing screen.
All good.
Yay.
Yay!
Okay.
Wow, this
First
is
live done.
our
All right,
first
we're good. We can
live.
stop now, guys. The technical test is over.
So
But no,
exciting. So
please do your actual intro before we get to chatting.
yes, hello, I'm Teresa. I'm the founder of Holistic Clinic, and together with me today, I have got Annie joining us from
Germany.
Germany, and then we have Sydney joining us
Hi,
from
Singapore.
Singapore today. So together we are all considered channelers, light workers, and today we want to share a lot of our experiences in specific to past life journeys and soul healing.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is an extremely, I guess, common thing that when we take on cases that we often have to look into past life because we have clients who come to us who say, I'm not really sure what's going on, but I have a very strong belief system about something, but not too sure where that came from. And that's when we actually start looking into the past life and realize that, hey, sometimes there are roots of it that comes from the past life. So I thought today would be quite interesting to share some interesting cases. But
Mm-hmm.
before I start, as channelers, I just want to check with you all, like from your own experiences, having dealt and met so many different past lives, are there any particular things that you feel about past lives that is impacting our current life? I mentioned one earlier. It's actually about our belief systems. Is there any other
Right.
things that you feel that that's coming up?
Um, I mean, this isn't super related to insights from channeling, but I always feel like sometimes our talents might be past life related because sometimes it's like a person's aptitude in something is just really strong from the get-go. And I think also just certain things like personalities and, you know, whenever I'm interacting with like really, really young children, right? Like really new babies, and their personalities are always so clear from the get-go. And it's like that little like personality signature coming through so young really makes me feel like we don't come in as blank slates.
That's a
Yeah.
really good point. I do agree. Yeah. Anything from you, Annie, that you observe?
Well, that could also explain sometimes the challenges sometimes that we are facing and not wondering where does it come from or specific fears. Do you have like no
Mm,
idea or related personal events from this life and you don't know
yeah.
why water is something that you don't like or you don't
Mm,
like to be in company of snakes or whatever.
Mm.
And
yeah, that's a really
so I think we can all relate to that up to a certain point. And
yeah.
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 The other things I notice is that there are certain physical appearances, like
Oh.
um, like there are always people who also talked about, and it's just not from us. When there are certain scars, they were born with certain moles or certain
Oh, right. Like birthmarks that are a really interesting shape or something.
correct, and very
Mm.
often those are the energies that they took with them and brought to this life. If
Hmm.
stab at the heart, for example, there will be a birthmark there, or if they fell or something, right? So
Oh
that's
gosh, now I'm wondering about like the different birthmarks that I know like different friends and family have.
mhm. Yeah. So there were particular cases I thought I wanted to share with people, and this
Mm.
one is because often when they came to me to look into this case, it was because they thought their house was haunted. And this is when they hear their names being called, and then they look around, they couldn't see anybody. So in particular, there's this case where in the middle of the night, she'll be sleeping, sound asleep, and then at 3 a.m., she will hear her name being called, and then she'll wake up. And then it will be on like a repeat, on repeat, and it's like
Always 3 a.m.?
at always at 3 a.m.
Oh,
And it will be calling out her name and telling her there's something wrong with her heart. And she was like, okay, there's nothing wrong with my heart, right? And so it really freaked her out. Going home, she filmed her home, her house, and sent me the video. And I took a quick look, and the house is pretty nice, right? There's nice sun, and on top of that, she has a pet. So it really wasn't a case of haunting in the house until we opened the case. And that's when it got really interesting. When we opened the case to we didn't particularly just go in to say, let's look for the past life. We opened the case to go, where is the voice coming from? And that's when her past life came up. And the past life came up. It talked about how it once found an emerald. And it just so happened that her past life was a beautiful snake that found a beautiful emerald and swallowed the emerald and took the emerald to be her heart. And because she was shining so beautifully in the waters, the fisherman noticed her because she was a water snake. And the fisherman went after her, caught her, and ripped out the emerald. The snake has never let go of the fact that the emerald was snatched away from her so cruelly. So this snake energy consciousness has continued to live on with that trauma. So as even though as a soul she evolved and she then now evolved into a human, that energy of that snake continues to live on. And that's when we do our work, we call that part of a soul fragment that continues to live in that trauma. So we need to go in to heal that little snake. And after we heal the snake, that voice is gone. So I thought that was quite an interesting case where we often hear people talk about hearing voices, thinking that it is their environment, it's their house, it's they're haunted, but it could actually be just a past life.
yourself.
Yeah, it's just a past life coming
Mhm.
back, screaming for help. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. Was
Mm.
there any other cases that y'all thought about the past life
I
that
just thought it was, yeah, Annie.
No, sorry, I just wanted to highlight, by the way, for those who are watching, I was also surprised to hear that, sometimes we do have experiences for other past lives as animals. For me, that was the first time when I heard Teresa talking about these stories or other ones. And it's like,
Hmm.
aha, so okay. Yeah, we always think about like past lives as humans or as, a body, but yeah, you're
Mm.
right. So I just wanted to acknowledge that you're talking about like many experiences all with cases and animals past life, which I
Oh,
find
yeah.
like,
We actually had a few others. There was a recent one that Sydney and myself was doing. Uh,
Tiger?
yeah, there's this tiger. This was a case where the guy sometimes will feel a lot of pain and fear of people carrying knives around him.
Yeah,
And
or like following him
or
around.
following him around with knives, and he feel really hunted. Like the words he will use is like I feel that people are hunting me. Um,
Yeah.
and then sometimes he will run out of his room saying that he saw elephants and zebras in his room,
Mm.
right? And then so when we opened up the case, there was a very traumatic life where he led as a tiger mother. And
Yeah. I
Sydney,
remember that.
you channeled the tiger mother, right?
Yeah, I remember because I didn't have any context for anything. It was just another case right? And on this occasion, it was me and another channeler, it was Chung Soon. And when we went to like go into it, just no expectations. We just knew that there was another client coming in. And then when I started to sort of like pick up on the tiger, I didn't know that was what was happening. All I knew was that I was getting this like almost like it was trying to vocalize, but not with words. It was just trying to like make a aggressive sound, just ah. Uh and then Chung Soon actually, I don't remember what being he was channeling that helped the tiger out. And then that's when the whole story came out about like running from hunters and trying to protect children, and then the children getting, was it the children getting killed? It's hard to remember
Yeah,
when you channel it
yeah,
yourself.
yeah. The mother tiger was very sad because her children was all taken from her and she was
Hmm.
Mm,
killed. Yeah, so anyway, we did come across many past lives where we were animals, and then the trauma continues if it is not healed. So
hmm.
that was a very interesting case, and I'm really glad that we got to it because then there was no more about people hunting him with knives or elephants showing up in the middle of the night in his room or zebras showing up in the middle of his room, in the middle of his room. So that was interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, Annie, to your point about the like animal past lives being surprising, for me, just like past lives overall as a concept was never something that I thought about prior to doing all of this stuff that we are doing here with Holistic Clinic. I sort of never even never even crossed my mind to consider past lives at all. So it was like all of the stuff we were doing, I've just been like rolling with, just like, oh, okay, like that's what's showing up. I will like be open to whatever ends up happening when we channel.
Yeah. So as we brought on earlier, right, when we first started, past lives shaped a lot of our beliefs. Past life also shaped a lot of like our talents and our gifts. Past life also shaped a lot of our like, how we appear sometimes, right? Um, but there's also such thing as relationships, right? Sometimes, a lot of times actually, when people choose to come back in this life to experience this life again. They may have contracts and agreement with some people to say that, uh, I think we didn't get it right this life. I want to get it right again next life. And then it comes as, tough teachers, or they switch roles once
Oh, like mother, daughter, then daughter,
mother
mother.
daughter and then daughter mother, yeah, exactly, right.
Yeah.
And that's when there's a lot of that happening, and we tend to be reborn again in similar environment with familiar souls so that we could learn things together, or we have agreed to be teachers to each other. But
Hmm.
Sydney, to what you said, like past life, it would never occur to you, right?
Hmm.
And now that it has, is there anything that you felt that we need to treat our past life with a lot more seriousness?
I think in a day-to-day sense, not much changes. I think that's been something, I don't know about the other channelers, but for me, like day-to-day life is still day-to-day life. And I enjoy it kind of as it comes. Um, but I think it's when we do sessions, like, before I was doing channeling, I actually came in for a session, and it's the like impacts that has. So I think not knowing about past lives could be beneficial in some ways, because if you don't know what to do about it, then it's kind of like just another thing to worry about with no idea like what to do in that situation. But now that we're able to do the kind of things that we do, I think it's really great because not only are people just learning about their past lives because it's something interesting, but usually it's in the context of, oh, okay, we're healing this thing. And then they can see that reflected in their actual experience of like, oh, that inexplicable fear or thought or whatever it was that was bothering me has like dissipated. It just kind of fades away and you forget that it even bothered you in the first place.
That's a good
Um,
point.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was what it was like for me, where, when we did work on my stuff, it's only because I like journal and document it that I can look back and be like, wait, oh right, yeah, that was where like I was at. And then it all just kind of fades away very naturally and
Yeah.
effortlessly. You don't even realize that there's a change. At least, my
Yeah.
experience. I can't speak for anyone else.
Annie, did we work on your past life or did you work on any cases of past lives?
I'm so glad you asked. I just realized we didn't really work on my past lives. If we did, it was like 1 year ago and maybe a little bit longer. Um, it was about, yeah, dragons. That was like a dragon with me. But do have to recall it again. Just like it was under how do you say? You basically put me under an hypnosis, and then so came out the type of work, and I ended up like being this dragon, and I just felt like, okay, just that would explain maybe sometimes the throat area that I need to it doesn't justify sometimes the habits that we have, but I mean, for me it was like especially working with other people, understanding also their past lives and helping them to heal. It helps me, even though we haven't done the specific work with me. I did maybe connect with some highlights, and not too long ago we had a meetup. You did mention about a soul fragment, and it could be like a soul, a past life, and I was able to recall and feel it, and knowing, oh, I understand where this feeling of absolutely not enough and sacrifice yourself, where it come from. So since then I did have like this closure, and so so being open to um see a broad and brighter, and understanding the past helps you so much to understand what you are having, not necessarily more control, but empower yourself with who you are, instead of just being triggered and not knowing what's making that. So a lot of people like me, like I'm as a channeler, and I didn't know I was a channeler before. I was just a person very sensitive and feeling a lot of things. So it was difficult to discern what was past life or like other people, and so the healing process that we have done, and being open to it, because it's mostly accepting. It's accepting and loving and opening your heart to that and your soul to it. So this past life work was definitely for me a win-win situation, and it makes me
Yeah.
just understand so much the presence. Is
Mhm.
once you tap in, it's not
Mhm.
just about finding, oh, now I know I used to be a princess, or I used to be this or that.
Yeah.
It's more
Yeah.
about embracing. So this was an experience, or maybe it was an experiment. I don't know. Up to a point, we all have our different experiences. But for me, it was like the more I know, the more I feel empowered, the more I feel complete, and the more I feel heal. Yeah. So healing for me is like feeling healthy spiritually, physically, because it does also have an impact, like you said, physically. And
Mm.
sometimes like, why do I always get, I don't know, that kind of infection? So
Mm.
this that could be also like a reason. It's good to know sometimes, or to relate.
Yeah.
Reason like it's not in the family. Why? Like I'm
I mean,
eating healthy.
I could
Yeah.
share like an obsession that I had before. And just by the person pointing out that it was my past life, it just completely took that obsession away. So I used to have a crazy obsession of one, buying notebooks, and two, writing down the most unimportant things every day, right? It is it's like today I took the bus to where, today this is the ticket, keep it in the scrapbook, right? And I'm just thinking, why am I so obsessed in documenting every minor detail of my day-to-day life, right? And thinking that maybe one day I'm going to be a great author and these are going to be my reference notes, right? And then it was just somebody who came up to me and go, do you have a lot of notebooks with you? I said, yes, I carried two notebooks with me in my bag, one to capture my expenses, one to capture my daily activities and experiences, really mindless, right? And I go, yeah, I actually have two notebooks in my bag. I should go, yeah. One of your past lives that you were a historian and you had to document everything, right? And so you were very good at your job and you were obsessed with your job and you just wanted to document everything and you kept a really good record for everybody to refer to. The moment that was mentioned to me, every obsession to have notebooks and crazy note-taking of my daily life dissipated, just disappeared. So just knowing that it is not related to this life gave me so much closure. Like that obsession, the need is not necessary, is not important. And that was so important to me. That to me is healing, even though it was not done in an environment where I was, ready for healing. It's just this person coming up to me and said that you have a past life. And strangely, at that time, I didn't really believe in past life at that time.
Yeah.
But having her pointing out every detail of what I'm obsessed with just made me believe her. And then that whole past life was then healed. So I thought that was really good. It gave me that closure to what Annie you were talking about. And similarly to a lot of clients that we saw, right? It gave them that closure. And that's when they heal and feel lighter and that they could let go. I remember at the time when I let go of those notebooks, I was so light. I didn't feel that crazy need to
literally
pen and notebooks with me. Yeah. Any other? Yeah, go on.
You just remind me about not the cases, but a personal one is that I saw one part the first time I saw it, like describing or like when somebody worked with you as a healer or a channeler, and they describe it to you, it's one, but seeing it like the ones that was like, and I didn't ask for it, so I was a bit surprised. I was at that time in Barcelona, and it was like energical work. And I asked this lady to work on my energy, especially because I hear a lot of sound in my ears the whole time. The tinnitus, how do you say tinnitus?
Yeah,
And
tinnitus.
so I asked her, and it was the last one, and I asked her, like, could you work this energy for me? And I'm ready to hear better. I saw better, but it was a bit, what I saw, and I didn't expect it, as it was like a transcending or going really into a bubble, a moment. Unfortunately, it was like the last breaths of one life, and like it could be like traumatic. Like it was a trauma because one, I didn't call it. I was not asking for it. Two, I was not expecting it. So seeing it was like I was caught off guards. But then it explains so much more. So I was a lady, and I was like I was so depressed, and unfortunately, I was hanging. And so, because the lady was like, "Why don't you feel? Do you feel your feet now?" It's like, "Why so?" It's like, because I'm hanging. I'm hanging in the air because I was on a. And she was like, "I'm rubbing your feet now." It's like I can't feel that. And she's like, "Where are you?" It's like, it seems I'm somewhere else. So and that time I understood my whole youth, I could not bear anything on my throat the whole time. I was not able to sleep and have anything like touching here, not even caresses or anything, like no way for many years. And after that, I was able to feel a bit more, I'm okay now. See, I have hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, past lives actually do impact us in so many ways, like, our obsession, our habits, our beliefs, our health. Any of you have come across health related from past life?
Mm.
Mm.
I can only think about like skin related ones, like skin diseases, where they were burnt and then they were just extremely sensitive. They just break out in rash and they don't like to be near heat. So those were like when we went into healing, that was actually more skin related because of past life trauma from being burnt. That case was actually they were like caught in the fire and burnt in the fire. So the skin was extremely sensitive.
Wow.
I'm not too sure what other oh, asthma. A lot of asthma cases was also burnt victims. And then they come to this life with difficulty
Oh,
to
because
breathe
of smoke?
because of smoke. So there was some of those health related issues from past lives.
Wow.
Yeah. So it does impact us on so many levels, from gift to relationships,
Yeah.
beliefs, and then past life coming back to ask to be healed. That's the one where I think a lot of our work we get involved with is actually going to heal the past life, so that the haunting from the past life is ready to move on to go to the light. That fragment is able to let go of that pain. Yeah. So one of the things that we want to share about is like, how is past life relating to this life, right? And then we talked a little about that. Um, so from our experiences, when we heal those past life, that's when one we talk about person feeling a bit more light and able to feel that they can move on, let go of that strong belief, and then just be able to create more with this life rather than being stuck in that old
Mm.
belief, the old needs, and old obsession. Is there anything that you all recall that particular stood out for you in the cases that we worked on?
I mean, like, I actually thought of my own situation where um I learned from my mom something where I always wondered like why was it I would not sort of share my worries or things that I was taking responsibility for with other people.
Mhm.
And I always wondered where it came from. And then one day my mom told me, "Oh yeah, you were a super easy child. Like from the get-go, if you were upset, you would calm yourself down. And you would just like soothe yourself until you were better. So it made it really easy." And I was, when I first heard it, I was so hurt. I was like, why didn't you come and help me with that? But then it also got me thinking, like, why was I doing that from the start? It's one of those things where I would think it would be something that happened in my childhood that would prompt that kind of response. But then when she told me I'd always done it, I was thinking, well, where does this come from then? Like, why am I like, how can I be born with this thing? It just seems really strange. And it had caused a lot of trouble, like growing up, even in adulthood, where uh I didn't I got really bad at figuring out like when can I be vulnerable with people and when can I like be on my own and whatever. And getting the support I needed emotionally for things or um feeling like I always needed to seem like I have stuff together. And so it was this whole thing. And then when we went in to like have a session, Teresa, I remember there was actually it was like a past life or some sort of, actually, I think it was like part of the higher self that came in and had been in a leadership position before where they were like, I can't share this stuff with the people around me because I need to protect them from it. And I need to seem like I have everything together because if I don't, it'll be chaos for the people around me. So that was a really nice sort of relief and like extra piece of context to uh understand where that response was coming from. Because otherwise I was like, what's wrong? Am I crazy? Or
Yeah.
like or was I born with like really strange biochemistry or something? Um yeah, so that was
That's
a really interesting one where I would always like get really down moods because of it. And thankfully I haven't had that issue anymore. So, it's a big relief
yeah,
and much less draining.
that's I like that how you brought up that it was something that you were born with. Because recently we had a case
Mm.
where the mother talked about this young boy that she gave birth, and the moment he was born, he had his hands in the feast, and he will always want to grab onto something, and he doesn't want to let go. And if he opens up, he just feel nervous and he wants to close it back. And just like, why is there such kind of habit or obsession in grasp, holding the hand in the feast form, right? And so
Mm.
recently we had a chance to just look into the well-being of the boy's soul and everything. And it turned out that one of the past lives, he was about to get killed, and he had a dagger in his hands to protect himself. So he was holding on to this dagger, but it is not in him to kill someone. So he had it in him. He grabbed it really tight. Like at one point he wanted to stab, but he couldn't stab, but he used it to as a form of protection. But sadly, he was then killed by the other person. So he died. And he was born with a feast. So the mom
Still
could
holding on to protection.
Yeah, so the mom couldn't understand, like, why was he born with a feast, right?
Yeah.
That he was violent and stuff like that. But actually it was opposite. He didn't want to be violent, he didn't want to kill, and so he got killed, but his hand was holding on to the dagger, and he was born with the dagger, like he thinking he still had a dagger in his hands. So that was also something quite interesting that we came across.
Mm.
Yeah. Anything that in particular?
Well, I'm trying to remember the first cases we worked on, and it was like mostly one acquaintance, I think, with a specific name I won't name,
The
but
code name.
yeah,
When we
code
were
name.
still we were still learning and we had a code name
Yeah,
for our clients so that we wouldn't know anything about them.
it was a pastry.
Yes, but I do recall like you did have, I think, if I do recall, did he had soreness on he felt always like some a lot of pressure and tension in his back. And when we looked at this soul at the soul level, then we noticed there was like this past life that he was still carrying his father around. And I think it was like the father
Mm.
was hanging on his back. And it was not from the present dad, it was like the other past life dad. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
being not again his dad, but yeah, there was a bit. So it's good to know, to see also we had all other cases also about relationships, being able to point out like why they are so bonding together. They don't, they don't know each other, but that they just seem to be you know
Yeah.
glued
Inseparable.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
that helps sometimes, so parents to understand, like, I don't understand, she's only 13.
yeah. So I
Yeah.
I think one of before you jump in, Sydney, I was just going to say that we touched on this very briefly, but like we tend to think that as Annie you brought on earlier, that every of our past life seems to be human, but we had so many cases where it was not human, it was animals, and some of them are mythical animals as well. So one of the things that it came up, because I'm part of the Hypno Association in Singapore, And we often talked about past lives and all these scenes and things that come up for the clients when they come into session, right? And some religion don't allow them to believe in past life. But if it came up, right, when we're healing a client, whether to them in their environment they could believe it or not, how I approach it is that I don't really need you to believe it, because the story could be representative of other elements in your life, right? As long as those events make sense and give you closure, then that's all that is important. Because
Yeah.
it's so hard for somebody to know that, oh my God, my past life I was a fairy, or I was a pixie, or I was a dragon, or I was a Pegasus, or like it does come up, right? But whether the person is in a position like consciously to believe it, it's in my healing work, or all of our healing work, I don't see it as very super important, as long as the person is healed of the event.
I totally agree.
Right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, you were going to jump in on something, Sydney.
No, I just do want to say that I'm 100% with you there. It's all about being able to get people the results that they're looking for. And if they want to take it as like a story or a metaphor for whatever was going on, then just is like a whatever works kind of situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think with the case that we were talking about, which Annie and I, because Annie and I we trained together, so we did that one together, and for me it's always the super special case, because it was the first one, and then we got to do that one together. But in regards to the whole thing about past lives, I thought the other interesting thing was when I first channeled and was very clear that that was channeling was when I got that really strong voice coming in. I don't know if you remember, that was like, I'm secrets. It came in and was like, I'm secrets, I'm secrets. And then I was sitting there in our like training session, basically thinking, am I going mad? And and then I'm like, well, we're here to channel, so I might as well just talk and just let it out. And then it told this whole story about like being in a leadership position, and not just being in a leadership position alone, but like with another person who was like very close. And then ending up like dropping the ball in some way, and then that leading to some big disaster, and then running away from the responsibility, and that like really important person, that friend, ends up taking the fall for everything. And the secret was just that situation and how much shame and guilt came from that.
Mm.
And so I remember channeling all that and just kind of forgetting about it. But then later you got that message, if you want to share the message
Yes,
from,
I will
from
share it.
our mystery client, codenamed client.
Yeah. So I really love that channeling, and that secret was actually so heavy sitting with that
Mm.
person, right? So much so that very often when we work in teams, the person will refuse all opportunities to step into leadership position or take charge, even just taking charge, even though on the side there will be side talks like, this could be done differently, or we could have approached this differently and stuff like that. But this person just refused to be the voice for the group to say, everybody, we should go here, or everybody, we should do this, everybody, we should approach it this way. Just refuse to, and will literally freeze up if the person needed to step into the position to do that. We'll rather delegate it to somebody else. But after that session, knowing you have heard from the secret, right, and the secret came out, and felt so relieved that that secret was out, the person actually was able to take charge after that. But what I love about it is that you didn't know that this person had this issue during your,
Yeah. So
because
when you told me later, I was so mind blown.
yeah, it was a major issue. There will be like breaking relationship with others if somebody insists on putting him in that position of being a leader. to say like, oh, I need you to be a leader, I need you to take charge and all that. No, he was severe ties with that person. It was that bad, that past life secret kept being programmed and played along and again, so much so that that's how he will lead his life. He will never want to share his opinion openly or lead anybody in any directions openly because of that past life. So yeah, that I remembered that case too. Thank you for bringing it up. It was very memorable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have around 1 minute left of this live
Ooh.
stream. So I guess key takeaways. Who first? Annie? Sydney?
Ooh,
Key
okay.
Just go ahead, Sydney.
Oh, okay. Um, I think I want to bring it back to something that Annie actually said earlier, when, talking about like the insights that come from past lives, but how sometimes it's like one particular past life might not address everything. And also when we're taking clients, it's not just past life stuff that we end up seeing when we look into whatever it is that they've come to us for. So I think my final like closing statements, my takeaway is that as much as like healing the past lives is something that we do in our work and that like we've seen be really important for people, sometimes there's no past life issue and it's something else, and we just never really know what it might be, and so we always try to go in with an open mind, open heart, open open to whatever might be the case of what we're dealing with. um and yeah, so we should definitely chat about some of the other things that we that we do, or
Yeah.
that we come across as channelers the next time we do this.
Yes, next week. Next week we'll be doing aliens, angels.
Oh my goodness. Even more out there than past lives. Prepare yourselves.
Annie?
Yeah, but still, sometimes past life, future is like the same thing. So still worried.
Mm.
My big takeaway from today just reminded me, not as a challenger, I'm looking forward to it for the next healing session, but also for me, like it made me curious a little bit from hearing your experiences. Also, it's like, oh, I wonder what we would find about my own stories, because we do have little things or nuggets that that you just want to improve, or or maybe
Yeah.
just curious about, because healing is what brings us more joy and light and make this life so yummy.
Yeah.
And we need at this time of we are at the time of the whole life now, and we need healing
Yeah.
at any.
I love what both of you said. My final key takeaway is something that Sydney brought up, as we were preparing or chatting about like what are some topics that we're going to come to bring to this life. One of the things that she said is that people don't realize that very often in our past life, when we heal it, it impacts our this life. So
Mm.
we shared a lot of things in snippets because we only have a very short period of time on air. But the truth of the matter is that every healing of each past life actually makes our current life more complete and more whole, and we are able to let go of a lot more burdens and weight that we didn't realize that we were carrying. So that's what I learned about healing past life, and I found it to be such a beautiful modality, and is so needed because there's still so many soul fragments that actually need help and need healing, and without people giving them the attention, they just remain unhealed for a long time, and
Mm.
until people like us come in to understand the need for that healing, then
Mm.
people they could get the attention they needed, that they have been in so much pain for so long. So that's what really gave me a lot of I guess happiness to serve.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like when we tune in, sometimes the past lives are just like perpetuating the same um the same frequency on loop, just that particular experience just running like a tape.
Exactly. So with everything today, I want to thank you girls, and then we will be online again, same time this week. Oh, the same time this
Ne
no same
next?
same time next week. Duh.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you everybody. I'll talk to you soon.
Yay, thanks for setting this up.
Thank you.